Now, I did just want to give a little bit of a trigger warning about this next conversation because it could be upsetting to some listeners talking into the Royal Commission of Inquiry into Abuse and Care report. And in particular, today, we're talking about a really great support initiative that has been established in response to the finding and recommendations of the inquiry of the report. And it's the Survivors Experience Service, which has been set up to provide assistance to individuals who have experienced abuse and neglect while in state or faith-based care. And to talk with us today from Survivors Experience Service, SES, is Thomas Wynne, who is the Moana Pacifica Engagement Lead, and he joins us on the show today. Morena, welcome, Thomas.
Yeah, Kirana, good morning. Lizzie, nice to be here this morning, especially to talk about this.
Yeah, a really important topic. Now, I did just want to clarify, because I know that the report was looking into incidents from 1950 to 1999, but I just want to clarify with you, who exactly is this service for?
It's a great question. It's actually for anyone that experienced abuse while in state care or faith-based care. It also covers closed adoptions. Actually, it's really, if I just talk about what it doesn't cover those that were treated or abused while incarcerated.
Okay.
So we don't, like currently incarcerated or have been incarcerated, it's not in our remit. And the only other one is the Scouts and places like that, like Boys Brigade. Yeah, that's not in that scope for a number of reasons I don't understand, but what it does cover is literally everything else.
Okay.
I think we start at yes and sort of work backwards. If you think that that's you, then give us a call or text, and we can let you know if that actually drops out. But it's a very small group that don't fit this group, because that's a question we get quite a lot from the outset.
Yeah.
And it also includes people currently.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. You don't, it doesn't just happen in those dates, right?
No, if you were like, oh gosh, I was the year 2000, then no. Yeah. So it was clear from the government's response in Parliament the other week when I was there, of course, that this is still happening, and this does cover that. But if you are under the age of 18, we do have a service that can advocate for you called Voice, that will cover those that are under that consent age. So yeah, let's just start at yes and work backwards from there.
Sounds good. So the service was established a year ago. How do you reach out to people? Because I was just reflecting before I came on air, when for any of us go through a difficult time, any kind of trauma, whatever that might be, it can be it's really hard to talk about, right? Like I have people in my inner circle, some that Thomas, that I would talk to, but those are people that I have got decades of relationship with.
Yeah.
How do you guys sort of overcome that these people are coming or you want them to come to you, but they're talking about something that's so personal and so painful?
Great. Again, great question. That's probably the dilemma and challenge of our work. But, I guess we've been, as engagement leads that, we got the roles really because we have connections within our communities. And so we're reaching out to people within our communities that are talking. I guess the starting point of that question is everyone is talking to someone.
Yeah.
So no one isn't talking to anyone. And some of what we do is reaching out to the people that are talking to them and holding those conversations with them anyway.
Yeah.
I think if we look at the efficacy of the service, I think we started in July at about 90 registrations.
Last year, right?
Registering.
A year ago.
Now we're up to about 230.
Okay.
Yeah. So people are more ready. There's more people are more ready to talk. And yes, there is some reluctance and resistance around that. I've encountered it myself where I've met with people, introduced them to the service, given them the contact details. Very difficult for them to make that that next move.
Yeah.
So, but for those that are ready, and for those that do, and there are numbers out there, the service is available to them.
Yeah. And I'm thinking if you're doing something like that, you don't have to do it on your own, right? You could have a whānau member
Correct.
with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So once they register, I think in all my work around social services, counselling, in my own journey, this is the most client-focused work I've done, and it really is one, budgeted for, two, driven and led by the client. So where you want to meet, how you want to meet, who you want there, what support you need, whether you want food or no food, whether you want midi or go for it, whatever that may be that makes your well-being better afterwards, we provide it.
Yeah. That's
It's
great.
like you tell us what you need and we'll build it and put it together. So it doesn't matter where you are in the country, what day of the week that you need that. We can work with you to put it together so that you are in a place that's comfortable so that you can tell your story.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is the support that is available to people?
So we have what they call a kaitaka wainga, which is a support person that's been doing this for quite some time. They are the meet person. We provide counselling support if needed, social service support if needed. Basically, it's really starting with a blank canvas, sitting down with the survivor and saying, okay, let's build this together. What does that look like for you?
Yeah.
It really is that open-ended. I mean, there are limits, I guess. I mean, we're not going to, we need to be in New Zealand. That has to happen. That's probably the only geographical limit.
Yeah.
But other than that, it really is a blank canvas, and it really is what is it that you need for us to facilitate you to tell your story?
Yeah.
That's really the starting point.
So
we don't provide financial support, but we can point you in that direction because there are, ACC, MSD, there are places that can provide that, and we can provide good advice around how to procure that, what you need to do to get on that pathway. But I think for the most part, once people have signaled that they want to talk to somebody about this, we just provide whatever it is that wraparound service looks like for them.
Yeah.
And and like I said, we've had, close to 230 registrations now since we started.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people didn't even know you existed, right? And now that the report's out and we're starting to have these conversations, more people can know. Something you touched on earlier, you said, Thomas, that if people are in prison, incarcerated, then, are you talking about abuse happening in prison versus somebody who was abused and then ended up in the prison service?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I mean, that's a good clarification because we are visiting the prisons. And in fact, the research is clear to us that 30%, if not more, of those that are sitting in prison have been abused while in state or faith care. So there's a definite pathway to that. So we've all been through the necessary checks and balances with Department of Corrections. Yep. So we have like just last week, one of our engagement team was actually in prisons that week talking with survivors in prisons. So yeah, if you're in prison and you've had, that's part of your story from prior to coming into prison, then definitely we want to meet with you also.
Yeah. So for these people engaging and meeting and having the support, I mean, I know it's early days, but then what does it look like for people? Is it just an individual journey of healing?
Yeah, yes, it is. It is. I mean, each person has a unique response. Each person has a unique story. I guess the only thing that's not unique is that it was terrible what happened to them. And, we are we always sort of call ourselves Recommendation 54 because that's what we were, 54, okay. Recommendation 54 from the Royal Commission. And this is a recommendation from survivors. Okay. So survivors said, we want a listening service from when the commission ends to what has now been tabled in Parliament and the redress and apology going forward. We don't want a situation where there's a gap in between, and we are filling that gap. But we're also, as we're doing that, providing insight into potentially what the steps forward could look like.
Yeah.
Also.
And just in closing, in terms of an initiative, the Survivors Experience Service, are you here for a period of time?
Yes, we are. So
yeah.
we are here. We're here until the government has co-designed with survivors and the report and everybody else that's feeding into it what those next steps look like. So there'll be aspects of us that may well continue into those next steps, but we will exist. There will not be a gap for survivors in between the Royal Commission and what the government does next. So we will be there as long as we need to be there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And actually, a very important question, actually, in addition to that, how do people access the service?
Look, we've got a contact number. It's 0800 456 090.
Yep.
For those or 1-800 456 032 for Australia. And most people actually text 8 to 8328.
Okay.
We also have a email address, contact@survivorexperiences.govt.nz. But I'll be happy to pass those on to you and get them out if anybody reaches out and says, can I get those contact details?
Yeah, I'll just repeat that 0800 number. So it's 0800 456 090, or you can text 8328. Otherwise, the interview will be up on the website and things later, and you can gather it there. Thomas Wynne, thank you so much for your time today.
No, I appreciate that, Lizzie. Absolutely. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you can catch all our interviews on Star. See you next time.